Welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm your host, Corey. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podserve, just to name a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first. Can we stop living our lives with questions and start living them with exclamation? Well, that's the question addressed in Tanya Harris's new book, Journey of the Heart, Should I Stay or Should I Go? And Tanya is right here with me, and we get to talk all about it. Tanya, welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. It's great to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege and an honor to be here today.
Well, it's wonderful to be talking with you. And can you tell me all about Journey of the Heart? Should I stay or should I go?
Journey of the Heart, Should I Stay or Should I Go, is a personal memoir. It's a journey through love, my faith, personal growth, learning if to stay, in a relationship or when to go, and how to trust God in the process.
Tanya, what sorts of readers do you think would really connect with this book?
The targeted readers, it would be those that are at a crossroads in their relationship. Maybe not even just in relationship, but just in general. You're in a crossroads in your life and you're seeking direction of what to do. And one of those things of recognizing of self-help. And that's, the essence of my book, Journey of the Heart. Is being able to understand and to know that we go through life with these questions. And so to be able to start living them with exclamations, being excited about life and your journey.
Tanya, what was your motivation or your inspiration behind writing this?
So it's one of those, through the pain, it was God. God inspired me to write this book. I was given, the Lord had told me that I was going to write a book. I just didn't know what I was going to write about. But I ended up was at a crossroads in my marriage. And I started seeking God and asking God what to do.
So is this all new to you, the writing and publishing thing, or do you have experience with it?
This is my first time. I am a first-time author. I did not have any experience in not writing, not organizing a book, how I would even finding a publisher or anything. I was just new. I was just really just guided by God and everything that I did with this book.
Being your first time, was this a long process for you, writing and publishing and everything?
My book started off by me journaling. I was seeking, answers. And so I started to write down in just a regular notebook. And as I was writing, God was giving me more and more to write about. And so I love to type. And so I just started typing it, and then it just kept flowing, in that way. So it took me a year, and it's through my pain. I wrote through my pain because I was going through something that was, a 20-year marriage. And I wanted to get Tanya back. I wanted to get my joy back. And through me writing allowed me to do that.
So do you think you have more books in you, Tanya? You think you'll be writing more down the road?
It's funny you would ask that because I was actually writing. God had given me my second book even before I finished Journey of the Heart. And when you get Journey of the Heart, you would see that at the end, it would say to be continued. And I know you're thinking no, not another to be continued. But at the beginning of my book, it would actually tell you the title of my next book. So yes, I will be having my second book to hopefully come out this year. So you got to get to read the first one before you can understand the second one.
Tanya's book is titled Journey of the Heart, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Of course, written by Tanya Harris and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So find it at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, it's been great talking with you tonight, Tanya. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you again.
Marquita G Hides' new book, titled Leaders spelled backwards, Leaders, is a faith-driven examination of godly leadership and spiritual purpose. And we're going to be talking all about it. Marquita is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Marquita, welcome. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Corey. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Marquita, I'm interested in learning about leaders spelled backwards, Leaders. What did you write about here?
Well, this book here, Leaders spelled backwards, Leaders, Corey, it's a book that it's not about leaders who have exemplified double honor, who have ruled the house of God very well. In fact, it is diametrically opposite. I'm writing about leaders who have become corrupt in Christendom and beyond, but especially in Christendom, who have become corrupt and toxic in their leadership over the flock of God, basically out for their own personal gain and agenda. And they're using that at the expense of the little wee lambs, the flock of God. And they think that they're above the law or above the rule of law, but God has a way of getting to those leaders and touching them. They think they're untouchable because they're in that capacity of leadership. And so this book is about exposing that thing that have really kind of been under the rug and letting God, who is the eternal righteous judge, deal with those leaders who think they're untouchable for their toxicity in leadership in Christendom, sir.
Marquita, who were you writing this for? Who's your target audience, would you say?
It's to the sheep, the people of God, and to leaders. Getting the attention of leadership throughout the entire body of Christ, and to those iwi lambs or those coming into the faith of the Lord Jesus and starting their journey to identify with these type of hirelings or wolves in sheep clothing. That's my heartbeat. That's the purpose of the book, to address leaders. You're being exposed and to let these little innocent lambs know, watch out for this, know to identify, to know these traits.
Yeah, this is definitely a unique take on church leadership. So what was that inspiration? What gave you the idea to write about it?
Well, to totally be honest here, it was my mom, Ernestine Johnson Hides, and she's on with the Lord now. But way back over in 1988, she had a prophetic dream, and she shared it with me. And being young and just kind of aimless, doing my own thing, and she said she had a dream about a car that was pulling up to like an estate, and it had the words in big capital letters, author. And she was wondering, well, who's that in that car? So when the car door opened, and it was on the driver's seat of the car door, and when the car door opened, I got out. And she said, oh, Marquita, my nickname. Marquita's going to be an author. And that prophetic dream has been a compass to navigate me in very challenging times that I just didn't know which direction to go. That would come back. And that dream is what has inspired my new book titled Leaders spelled backward, Leaders, Corey.
So is this the first time you've done something like this, or do you have experience in the whole writing and publishing thing?
This is my first time. I've never wrote a book. I knew nothing about it. Like I said, it was a compass navigating me. This is my first experience. And been a very delightful one with Christian Faith Publishing, but I've never wrote a book. This is my first book. Yes, sir.
Being that it's your first, was this a long journey that you were on overall, the writing and publishing and everything?
Oh, my goodness. It took 25 years plus to go through all the experiences to even compose the book. The book actually, it took about 2.5 years to be exact, to write and to get it all together, to bring it all together, the experiences that had to go into the book, all of the things that I endured because I am a preacher, and going through all those different pulpits and the leadership that was just very rude and belligerent. And I hate to say it like that, but it was a very negative experience.
Again, this book is titled Leaders spelled backwards, Leaders. It's written by Marquita G Hides, published by Christian Faith Publishing. Head on over to places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores, and you'll be able to pick this up. Well, thank you again, Marquita, for being on the show. It's been really nice to chat with you today.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you. And I enjoyed every moment of it. It's just been a thrill to come to the end of a journey and to see the desire finally come and become accomplished. Thank you so much, Corey. You and to Reader's House. Thank you so kindly.
This is a riveting alternative history novel that follows an ongoing struggle between the Romans and Bavarians. It's written by Darren S. Catallo, and it's titled Rome Unconquered, 1599. Darren is right here with me. Darren, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm interested in learning about Rome Unconquered, 1599, Darren. Can you tell me what you've written about here?
Yeah, it's essentially an alternate history, as if the Roman Empire survived until the year 1599, but it's in a much smaller form. It's not as big as it was historically. It's a much smaller, more intelligence-based empire. But the book isn't so much about the politics and about the wars and the battles. What it's about different characters. I have some civilians in it in a town called Langries, which is an actual town in southern Germany. And then I have some Bavarian officers, because that's the enemy empire, if you will, from the Romans' point of view. And they're called Landsknecht. And also I have some Roman soldiers. And they're not exactly soldiers that one might think of as soldiers. One of them is a former artist who basically got stuck in the army by his dad because the kid needed a job. So I tried to make these people real. I tried to make them interesting. And I try to make it funny. I even have a village idiot in it.
It's really interesting, Darren. How did the idea for this come about?
I used to work on offshore drilling rigs. And I know that sounds a little bit strange, but I worked overseas, and I worked with a lot of different types of people. I worked with guys from Scotland, guys from Africa, Thailand, all over the place. And these were some of the most creative, interesting people I'd ever dealt with. And I also had spent some time in the Marine Corps, went to the U.S. Naval Academy. So I had been around a little bit. And I had a creative urge that never quite was satisfied by work. And I thought to myself, I've been around all these really weird, wacky people. How could I express that? And so the idea for this book just kind of came about. I did have a history background and a language background. And so one day I just wrote out an outline and started writing every day.
As far as the readers that you were thinking about for this, would you say primarily like history buffs?
Well, it's not exactly a history lesson. I took certain aspects of history, I rearranged them. I took parts of history and technical advances, and I moved them forward or I moved them back a little bit depending on what I was interested in. I wouldn't say necessarily history buffs per se, but I would say anybody who wants to read an exciting character-based story that has a bit of humor in it. I wanted the people to feel real. And alternate history, at least some of the ones I've read, didn't always feel real. The people sometimes felt maybe a little wooden, and so I tried to make it based off of folks I actually knew.
So what does your writing background look like, Darren? Have you done a lot of this kind of thing in the past?
No, it's not the first book I've written, but it's the first book I published. I was a history major at the Naval Academy, so I did have to write a lot of papers and such, and I almost became a history professor, but I decided grading papers sounded horrible, at least for me. But I wrote a couple of sci-fi books just for the fun of it and wasn't really able to publish them. And so I decided to go with this because it was based a little bit off of my background history-wise, but also something that interested me that I felt that I could change, twist, and turn into something that people might want to read.
From the time you sat down and started working on it, clear up until it was published and out there, was this a long period of time overall?
It was, maybe a year and a half, a year and 3/4.
So you had your manuscript ready, you started working with your publisher, Newman Springs. Darren, is there anything in particular about the publishing process that you found challenging?
Well, I had really good support from Newman Springs. I enjoyed working with them quite a bit. Challenging-wise, once I did publish this, I did have all sorts of, and I don't know if this is normal or not, I'm assuming it is, but I did have all sorts of people come out of the woodwork offering, and not from Newman Springs, but elsewhere, coming out of the woodwork to offering different services for an exorbitant amount of money sometimes. As a new author or a new published author, that was a surprise to me. So that was possibly the most challenging thing, trying to navigate that. But overall, it's been a very enjoyable experience.
Well, it sounds like readers are really going to be into this. Again, it's Rome Unconquered, 1599, written by Darren S. Catallo and published by Newman Springs Publishing. Head on over to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes or a traditional brick-and-mortar store, and you'll be able to pick it up. Well, it's been great talking with you tonight, Darren. Thanks again for being on the show.
I appreciate it, Corey. Thank you for your time.
Daffodil, Daisy, and Dandelion, the new book by Faith M. Sample, follows a young girl who answers when a small voice calls to her and discovers the seed of friendship. We'll be talking all about it right now. Faith is right here with me at the show. Faith, welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. It's really good to be talking with you.
Thank you.
Faith, can you tell me all about Daffodil, Daisy, and Dandelion? What are readers going to find here?
They'll find a story that is a little magical, that allows children to explore their imaginations and discover what it would be like to make friends not only in their own minds, but also in the real world.
What gave you the idea for this? What sparked you to say, hey, I want to write this book?
Mostly helping my daughters as they transition from more imaginary friends to ones that they met at school or other places.
When it comes to writing and publishing, do you have experience doing this, or is this something kind of new for you?
This is new for me. This is my first book to publish.
Well, being your first, was this a long journey for you overall, the writing and the publishing and everything?
Much longer than anticipated, but worth it. I learned a lot.
You had your book ready, you started working with your publisher, Covenant Books. Faith, what would you say was the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
Mostly figuring out how to get the images and the story told in the best way so that young children would be interested in the story and see it come to life in the way that I hoped.
Yeah, the artwork looks fantastic in this. So was that a simple process for you, or was that a bit complicated?
It was a little complicated. I ended up doing the artwork myself, wanting to have it be done by a real artist rather than by computer. So I did the drawings, and then I found a talented watercolorist to do the coloring for me.
Well, there's nothing like seeing that finished product, that thing that you've worked so hard toward. Faith, whenever you were holding Daffodil, Daisy, and Dandelion in your hands for the very first time, what was that moment like for you?
It was pretty amazing. It seemed surreal. I was excited, and I was also hopeful that it would be something that kids and families could enjoy.
Well, you're published now. Your work is out there for the world. Faith, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
I think probably being able to show my children that even though you're a mom and you're older and you've, lived a lot of life, that you can still do something new, that you can still meet new challenges and make things happen.
Looking ahead, do you see yourself writing and publishing more, do you think?
I have several already written. It's just a matter of whether I get them published or not, since I started with the first, and that's one step in that path.
Are you writing more along the lines of Daffodil, Daisy, and Dandelion, or are you exploring other things?
I have several children's books that are similar to Daffodil, Daisy, and Dandelion that use some alliteration, but also tell stories that would be interesting to kids. But I also have one work of nonfiction that I'm working on and another of young adult fiction.
Would you say that the writing goes easily for you, or do you hit stumbling blocks like writer's block and things like that from time to time?
I would say the writing part is the easy part. I think the harder part is being willing to put it out there.
Well, we have a lot of aspiring authors listening to us right now. Faith, do you have maybe some advice that you could offer them?
I would say do it. Write the story and then turn it into a publisher, maybe several publishers, and don't give up because sometimes the answers no at first, but there's always an avenue to make it work.
So when you sit down to write, Faith, is there sort of a routine that you have to it, like maybe early morning, late night? Or are you the kind of author that just sort of writes whenever you feel the inspiration or find that time to write?
Mostly I write when I feel inspired. Often a story or an idea will come to me, whether sometimes in the middle of the night when I'm asleep, I'll have an idea come. And so the next day, that's when I'll try to write down as much of what I'd thought of or what I'd remember from my idea as I can. And so more when inspiration strikes, that's when I write.
Well, what a wonderful message in this book. Again, it's titled Daffodil, Daisy, and Dandelion, written by Faith M. Sample and published by Covenant Books. Find it at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Faye, thank you again for coming on the show and talking to me about your work. It's been really nice to chat tonight.
Thank you.
Wouldn't it be great to see the world through a child's eyes again? Well, author Jennifer McRoberts celebrates this hope and beauty in her new book, A Field of Wishes. We'll be talking all about it. Jennifer is here with me at the show. Jennifer, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you taking the time.
Jennifer, can you tell me all about what you've written in A Field of Wishes?
I sure can. It's about a little boy who has just a different perspective when seeing a field of dandelions, and it actually happened in real life with me. I am a teacher and had a student named Landon, and that's the boy in the book, and we were going on a walk, and I saw a field of dandelions, and I just was so judgmental and said, "Oh, Landon, that's awful to have all those weeds in your yard." And he just looked at me and he said, "I don't see them as weeds. I see them as a field of wishes." And I thought that's just a great perspective to have. And it really taught me a lot. And he was only 5 years old at the time. So I just learned a lot from that.
Jennifer, what kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
Well, I think it's for all ages, actually, because I think it's a message that's relevant for all of us, whether it be a child or an adult, because we all need to know about others, and others have different perspectives, and I think it's just a good way to open our minds.
So when it comes to writing and publishing and all that, are you experienced doing this, or is this a kind of new thing for you?
Oh, it's definitely a new thing. Yes, this is the first book I've written, and so I just felt like it was a message I wanted to get out, and so that's what I did.
So once you got started on it, was this a long process for you overall, the writing part, the publishing part, and the whole thing?
The writing part wasn't, because it was an experience that I had, and so I was able to write with great ease about the experience. The whole process was longer than what I anticipated, but it was a great process. So I learned a lot through it all.
Yeah, you chose a great publisher, Christian Faith. So once you started working with them, what would you consider to be the most challenging part about that publishing process?
The most challenging, I would say, for me, it was to find the illustrator that I wanted to illustrate the story. And so they illustrated some pictures, and it just wasn't, I had a vision in my mind what I want it to look like, and that wasn't it. And so I brought my niece, who's a fantastic artist, and she drew the pictures for me. So that was a longer process just because they did the pictures and then we had to do the pictures again. So it probably would have been published sooner had I not changed the illustrator.
Well, it must have been quite a moment for you whenever it was a real thing. The first copy was in, you were holding A Field of Wishes in your hands for the first time, Jennifer. What was that moment like for you?
Oh, it was great. It was great to see my name on the book and my niece with the pictures being the illustrator. And it's just something that I know that my children and my grandchildren will always have, and for generations to come.
And so now that you're a published author, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
That's a great question. I would say the fact that it was published, that they liked it enough to actually publish it. And then just the aspect of my family having a part of me, no matter if I'm here or not.
So when you look down the road, do you see yourself writing and publishing more?
I might. I'm just going to take a break and enjoy this time with this book right now. And then I have some ideas, but just haven't really put them down on paper yet to get those published.
Well, a lot of our listening audience right now is authors just starting out. Jennifer, do you maybe have some advice that you could toss out there for them?
Well, I would say just do it. Just do it. Just if you have an interest in writing down your thoughts in a story, then I would encourage anybody to just go ahead and do that and get their story out there.
Good advice. What a wonderful book. Again, this is titled A Field of Wishes. It's written by Jennifer McRoberts and published by Christian Faith Publishing. Pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Jennifer, it's been really wonderful to talk with you tonight and learn all about your work. Thanks again for being on the show with me.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Author Christopher Coad explores anger, brokenness, and the transforming power of grace in his new raw and redemptive memoir titled Short-Tempered. And Christopher is here with me now at the show. Chris, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Can you tell me all about Short-Tempered and what you've written about there?
It's basically, it started off as just being a therapeutic thing, trying to remind myself of, that I'm not just my past, basically. And it ended up becoming hopefully, prayerfully, it's a book of hope that, people that have been in, like situations can still see that don't give up. There's always a chance that something better is along the way.
Chris, what sorts of readers did you have in mind for this? Who do you think this would connect with the best?
My original audience was like friends and family, and my kids, trying to explain why I was the way I was, explain some of the reasons why I did things the way I did. And then after getting into it, I realized that could be a wider audience that could benefit from it, hopefully benefit from it. So I was kind of guess I'm targeting the down and outs that feel like, they just messed up their life so bad that there's no reason to continue. And, just kind of like, hey, just because everything's looking down right now doesn't mean that everything's going to be too, I don't know. I was just trying to inspire hope in somebody else that, might have been in like situations.
So when it comes to your writing background, do you have a lot of experience doing this kind of thing?
Not exactly. I wrote a short story once when I was in high school that my teacher wanted to send to Reader's Digest, but he never did. Other than that, it's just, like short poems and stuff like that. Nothing major or anything,
So once you got started on it, was this a long process for you overall, the writing and publishing and everything?
Not really. It took me probably 3 years to write it because I was actually incarcerated for 2 of the years I was writing it. So, but after I got out, it's taken about a year once I finally started the ball rolling.
And once you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, what would you say was the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
For me, just making sure I got the payments out, really. They've been really great. I mean, they come up to the cover design. They formatted it all for me. I was like so rudimentary and so crude the way I, typed it out. I tried using the editor thing on my computer, but it didn't do any service. They've done, like I said, they've done a great job getting me going, and they've kept me, informed every step of the way. I mean, they kept asking me questions. It's like, I don't know. I just wanted to get the word out there. To me, it didn't matter. To me, it's, it's more about the word, getting the word out there. That it's not just my book either. It's God's book. I've got the second one actually wrote up, just waiting for this one to take off. And it takes place after I got out of prison up till last year. And it shows more hope, that, don't give up because God's always got a plan. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean we can't. And even now, I'm still struggling, but I'm keeping my eyes up on God and praying. I'm praying I'm taking the right steps this time, you know what I mean?
So we have a lot of authors listening to us right now, and they're just starting out in this whole thing as well. Chris, do you maybe have some advice that you could throw out there for them?
Well, I never thought, I barely like to read, let alone write my own book. And, it's like one of my best friends asked me, so who's going to want to read about a book about a nobody from nowhere? I was like, you'd be really surprised, man. Like my buddy, he was wanting to write his own book, but he kept talking. I told him, the hardest part is putting pen to paper. Once you get the pen to paper, get it down and decipher it however, just there's like the rapper Eminem, when he was writing his songs out, he'd just write them on any piece of scrap paper he could find and then put it together later,
Well, this book is titled Short-Tempered. It's written by Christopher Coad, published by Christian Faith Publishing. So pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. It's been really great talking with you tonight, Chris. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Hey, I appreciate you giving me a call, man.
If you're feeling broken and are looking for spiritual renewal, then you're going to want to pick up the new book by Emmanuelar C. Malone, titled End Escapism, Seek His Kingdom. And Emmanuelar is here with me now. We get to talk about it. Emmanuelar, welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. It's great to be talking with you.
It's great to be talking with you, too. Thank you for having me.
Can you tell me all about what you've written in End Escapism, Seek His Kingdom?
Well, my book is pretty much poetry about my spiritual journey with the Lord. It started off with questioning my purpose, and after I had an encounter with Jesus, my journal, they started off journal entries, and they turned poetic, and now I'm just sharing my journey through poems.
What sorts of readers did you have in mind for this? Who do you think this would connect with the most?
This would actually connect with anyone who's been questioning their purpose in life or looking for something bigger than them and looking for someone who can understand and relate to them on a deeper level. So anyone who's been feeling lost and just wants a light to be shed in their life, it's for anyone.
Where did the inspiration for this come from? What gave you that idea?
Well, I started journaling every day after I was hit by a car, and the more harder life got, the more deeper these journaling got. And when I started writing poems, I would post them online for anyone to read. And a dear friend of mine mentioned that I should make it into a book. And so we're here.
Have you ever done anything like this before, or is this all kind of a new thing for you?
This is new. This is for sure new to me. I've always was a writer, but a book, no.
So being your first book, was this a long journey that you were on, the writing and publishing, the whole thing?
It actually was a long journey. Like writing, no. Writing took me maybe it's a 3-month collection, but the publishing, a whole year. So it's definitely a journey.
Once you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, what would you say was the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
I actually don't have anything to say. Nothing was challenging for me during the publishing. Everything was a great flow. I had so much support. So super relaxing and easy for me.
And then that day came, it was finally a real thing, and you were holding the first copy of End Escapism, Seek His Kingdom. What was that moment like for you?
I was in disbelief. I was smiling so big. I was like, oh my gosh, my name on a book. How crazy.
And now that you're published, your work is out there for everybody. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
Oh my gosh, the most rewarding aspect is seeing my loved ones actually purchasing the book. We know that our loved ones love us, but to see them invest in something so intimate, it's really beautiful to see.
What are the chances that we'll be seeing more books from you down the road?
I do love to write, but we'll see.
A lot of people listening to us right now are authors just starting out as well. Do you have any advice that you could offer them?
Just keep going and not listen to any distractions that might hinder you during this journey. You're on this path for a reason, so just keep going.
So while you're writing this, you said the writing went pretty quickly. Was it easy overall, or did you have times where writer's block and things like that kind of got in your way?
My situation is different only because I didn't know that my poems were going to become a book. I write every day and I post on a blog site. So when I decided that I wanted to move forward into making a book, I just copied and pasted it onto a document. So I didn't experience any writer's block.
Are you the kind of writer then that likes to write maybe early morning, late night, or do you just kind of write whenever you feel that inspiration or those ideas coming in?
Oh my gosh, I write whenever I feel the inspiration coming in. Sometimes, if I have a rhythm of a poem and I'm not able to finish it, I have to put it to the side and come back to it later. But I always do end up finishing a poem.
I think a lot of people are going to find help and hope in the pages of this book. Again, it's titled End Escapism, Seek His Kingdom. It's written by Emmanuelar C. Malone, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Emmanuelar, it's been wonderful talking with you tonight. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
imagination, friendship, lessons growing up. These are all celebrated in the new book by Jill Halasz titled Just Monkeying Around. And Jill is here with me. We're going to talk all about it. Jill, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to be talking with you, Jill, and I can't wait to find out about Just Monkeying Around. So can you tell me all about it?
Well, I have a daughter, and when she was about 2 years old, she started seeing an invisible monkey friend in our apartment complex. The invisible monkey was up in a tree, and she would tell me all these stories about him. And it got to the point where monkey became such a part of our lives, I started writing all of the stuff that she would tell me that they were doing down. And over the course of time, the idea for this story came to pass, and I wrote it down and went from there.
Jill, what kinds of readers did you have in mind for this? This is a children's book, of course, so you're thinking like younger or older children?
I was thinking age range of anywhere from about 3, which she was about 3 when the monkey came into the picture, to up until about 8, 9 years old when invisible friends start to fade out a little.
So what does your writing background look like, Jill? Have you done this kind of thing before?
I have. I actually have 3 published poetry books, 1 novel, 1 other children's book, and I've had works published in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Hallmark publications, as well as magazines, and I've been on radio and whatnot before, too.
Wow, you got a lot out there. So this being, your first children's book, it seems like, was this a long process for you overall, the writing and publishing, the whole thing?
It's actually the second children's book that I have published, but to get this one written and out all the way, it took about 3 years.
I could only imagine what that feeling's like whenever you open up your mailbox and there it is, the first copy of Just Monkeying Around, and you were holding it in your hands for the first time, Jill. What was that like for you?
I held it very quickly and then passed it off to my daughter because I figured it would be more meaningful coming from her, and just seeing her face light up and flipping through the pages and then hitting a couple of the pages and getting a little bit teary over the direction the story goes. That said it all for me. It really did. And I've gone into some schools and read it to some of the school kids, and just seeing their reactions to it and hearing the questions that they've asked me about the writing process and just the story in general, it gives back. And to me, that's everything.
Well, so much of our listening audience right now is authors who are just starting out in all of this. Jill, do you have some advice that you could offer to them?
Best advice that I can probably offer is keep writing, keep learning. Reach out to every avenue, however tiny, however huge it might be. I mean, just dreams come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes it's better to start small and build from there. Sometimes if you just, get lucky and you luck into something that's huge right off the bat, that's fine. But keep writing, keep practicing, keep learning, keep growing, keep reading, keep talking to other people that have been down this road before, and learn as much as you can about the whole process, because every little piece of information that you can glean is going to help you as you pursue this going forward.
So I'd be surprised if you didn't plan on writing more in the future and getting more published. Am I right?
Yes, and I even have the sequel to this book written. I'm just waiting to see how it does before I go ahead and work on getting the second one out.
Fantastic. I've talked with a lot of authors here over the years, and something I've noticed is how many of them also love to read. Jill, would you call yourself an avid reader?
I don't read as much now as I used to, but yes, I do love books. I do love a whole bunch of wide and varied variety of different books. I love fiction, nonfiction, historical fiction. Most recently read a book that was written, the fictionalized version of Edgar Allan Poe, that I really enjoyed. I've got a poetry background in my writing too, so things like that. If it strikes my interest, and a lot of times it is cover art and things like that, it makes me want to go pick something up. So I probably don't read as much now as I did, but I still love to read.
Well, it sounds like children and families are going to love the wonderful messages in this book. Again, it's titled Just Monkeying Around. It's written by Jill Halasz and published by Christian Faith Publishing. Pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or right down the street at your local bookshop. Well, thank you again, Jill, for coming on the show and talking all about your work. It's been really great to talk with you.
It's been my pleasure, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Keep reading, everybody.
Audiobook listeners will be happy to hear that L. Paul Hood's book, Yours, Mine, and Ours, Estate Planning for People in Blended or Step Families, which is Planning Your Future, Book 2 in the series, well, it's out now in audiobook format, and Paul is here with me, and we get to talk all about it. Paul, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Paul, can you tell me all about what readers and audiobook listeners are going to be in for whenever they get into Yours, Mine, and Ours?
Really a book that focuses like a laser beam on the differences between what I will call single relationship families. You know, what we used to think of as the norm, which hasn't been the norm since at least the census of 2010. The blended family since 2010, reconfirmed in 2020, is the most common form of family relationship in the United States today. But all the estate planning rules and conventions that apply to single relationship couples, Ozzie and Harriet, Leave It to Beaver, which has now been supplanted by the Brady Bunch. Whatever you would do for a single relationship can often be absolutely dangerous in a blended family estate planning relationship.
Who did you have in mind for this, Paul? What was your target audience, would you say?
Well, the target audience, I mean, the book is enough of a because I'm a firm believer in holistic, purposeful planning. You know, I've never been driven by the taxes. I mean, I represented a lot of wealthy people, but the most forward-thinking of them really didn't care that much about the taxes. They cared more about their families and their relationships. And it's very easy in an estate plan to set a family up that's already got a predilection toward dysfunction, set them up for failure.
So what was your inspiration behind this, Paul? What gave you the idea to start off on it?
It was my most challenging client. I noticed, and I've been writing and speaking to the profession for over 30 years about this subject. I'm literally, I'm the prophet crying out in the wilderness and have been for a very long time. It was that. And then life happened to me. And for several years, I had my own blended family. And the decisions are just different. So, like I said, I wrote the book initially because there's very little help out there. And what's funny is my book is one of the more highly regarded books for the professional when it was really written more for the lay audience. But that's how little is written about it because it's such a hard subject you have to really, really think it through because a lot of it's counterintuitive.
So writing a book like this, is this a long period of time, the writing and publishing and everything like that?
Well, no, for me, I'm guided by a mentor in the self-publishing space, the late, great Dan Poynter, who used to say, write it once and sell it forever. Well, I write, but I continue to massage, and that book will be, I'll do an update for that book in the not too distant future. It'll just be a constant evolution of thinking, of deep thinking about the subject, because Mark Twain was right. You never really know someone until you share an inheritance with them.
Well, you got the writing of the book, but then you have the publishing process right after that. Paul, when you started working with your publisher and getting the print out there, getting the audiobook out there, was there things about that publishing process that you found challenging?
Well, there were obviously bumps on the road, some big bumps on the audiobook side, but it's all worked out, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. But on the book publishing side, my book publishing partner, they're fantastic, and they put out my book. They get my book covers and get the book edits, and whether it needs a copy edit or a developmental edit, it's been good. So I've learned patience and to pick the right publisher, because I have picked the wrong one before, but pick the right one and pay attention, but go with them.
Paul's book is titled Yours, Mine, and Ours: Estate Planning for People in Blended or Step Families. It's book 2 of the Planning Your Future series. Of course, written by L. Paul Hood, published by the Audiobook Network, So you can pick it up where you usually get your audiobooks, like Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. Paul, it's been great to talk with you today. Thanks again for coming on the show with me.
Oh, thanks very much. It was my pleasure.
Diana Lee Wilcox's new book, Thank God in Advance 2, the book, complementing the music album. It's a blend of testimony and music that guides readers toward healing. Diana is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We'll be talking all about it. Diana, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
It's great to be talking with you, Diana, and I can't wait to learn all about Thank God in Advance. Can you tell me all about this?
Sure. Well, as it says in the title, we need to thank God in advance for the blessings to come. There are so many things that He wants to do in our lives, and oftentimes we get so obsessed with worrying or predicting negative outcomes that we forget to thank Him in advance for the blessings. It's called Thank God in Advance 2 because it's a second edition of the original Thank God in Advance.
And there's an album that goes along with this.
Yes, there's an album that goes along with it. It's on Apple Music and also Spotify. And if you'd like, I can sing you a song from the album. The words, the lyrics of the songs are actually in the book. Part of the book contains a discussion of the origin and meanings of the songs. And then the first and latter parts of the book talk about how Jesus can heal you emotionally. And if He can do it for me, He can do it for you.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a song, Diana.
Okay, here is a song that came to me kind of in the middle of the night. The Lord told it to me, and I sang it into a handheld tape recorder, and it goes like this. Injustice, injustice, there is injustice in my life. Injustice, injustice, that only you can set right. Will you come down from way on high and set these scales by your eye? Will you come down from way on high and set these scales by your eye? If I just seek, I know I'll find, 'cause till now I've been so blind. It's just a walk across the floor. It's just an opening up the door, and you'll come down from way on high. You'll set these scales by your eye. Yes, you'll come down from way on high and set these scales by your eye. I go and open up the door, and I'm changed forevermore. And it's sure ain't no surprise. You've set these scales by your eyes. Yes, you've come down from way on high. You set these scales by your eyes. Yes, you've come down from way on high and set these scales by your eyes. Sweet justice, sweet justice, there is sweet justice in my life. Sweet justice, that only you, God, could set right.
Well, that's beautiful, Diana.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And when it came to writing this book, recording the album, putting the whole thing together, was this a long process overall?
Well, it took about a year and a half. Yeah. What happened was I just sat down one morning, and wanted to write a devotional, kind of write my thoughts to the Lord. And I ended up writing my thoughts to the Lord, and then I wrote down His thoughts. I wrote down what He was saying to me, in other words. And I started doing that. I got to the point where I had done that for about 5 days, and I thought, hey, I think I'll make this a book. I'm going to call it Thank God in Advance. And actually, it's kind of fun. The latter part of the book, the very last part of the book, is a journal that chronicles my writing the book and how I came about writing it and stuff like that. I think that might be fun to see.
Well, I think readers and people who appreciate music are really going to be into this. Again, the book is titled Thank God in Advance 2, the book, complementing the music album. This is written by Diana Lee Wilcox, Ph.D., and published by Christian Faith Publishing. Find it at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or right down the street at your local bookshop. Well, Diana, it's been wonderful talking with you and hearing some of your beautiful music as well. Thanks again for being on the show.
It's been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for having me, Corey.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, just to name a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.